We're back with breaking news in our politics lead and a brand new excerpt from my upcoming book with Axios' Alex Thompson. It's called Original Sin. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's on Biden's decline. It's called Original Sin. I'm sure you've heard on May 20th. That's Tuesday. Original Sin. That's coming out in 3 weeks. On May 20th. That's just 19 days away. In 1 week and 1 day. It's coming out in just a few days. Comes out Tuesday. You will not believe what we found out.
In other words, ladies and gentlemen, Jake Tapper, that was always talking about the health of Biden in the most positive way, has decided that he found out he might have been wrong. Things are very bad. And suddenly, after Biden lost the race, actually when he didn't even get the choice, they just kicked him out, replaced with Kamala, and Kamala lost. And now it's like, hey, not even a Democrat won. Let's make a book about Biden's health. I'm not surprised that even left-leaning people are like, what are you doing?
Don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the difference between news and a secret?
He keeps falling down. He was live, accidentally said the word cancer.
The oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't for the longest time Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Everybody thought it might be happening, but if you thought that, you were the crazy one. Now logically, you just put a puzzle together and you're gonna be like, I got bad money, that I'm right. A lot of money. And people would call you crazy. Conspiracy theorists. You are following the Trump agenda. I'm like, come on, man. And now that it's coming out, I have a book, remember? I'm gonna talk about the thing that you never should have talked about because I told you you're wrong.
You won't believe what we found out. No, that's why I'm watching.
You covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't think
interested.
that's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Laura Trump issue that you referred. Here it is.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to watch
no
somebody on stage search for
that's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me
and,
that
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you
stuttering,
were mocking his stutter.
Idea, Joe Biden.
Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no
Jake.
standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have
is
one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Laura
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
Remember to subscribe. I blame what happened a few years ago when everybody was locked down. You couldn't say anything because you're not a doctor about a specific thing. That was normalized. And whenever you want to apply common sense to something that doesn't kind of make sense because the person is acting a little different. You're not a doctor. You're not supposed to be diagnosed. Bada bing, boom, bash. You're evil. I'm like, what?
Do you want to apologize to Laura Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she said, she has said this publicly, so I feel fine of sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. But I mean, after we did the research for this book and I realized how bad his acuity issues were, I called Laura Trump and I said, you were right.
She was totally right. That's the thing, because when I watched that clip, and I'm giving voice to what a lot of people watching the show are feeling, Jake, I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate her. You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right. And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys do at length, including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you. But you had such a visceral reaction to her. And my feeling is that's because you didn't want to hear it.
Remember, I'm not laughing at Biden. I'm not being condescending at Biden. I'm just looking at how Jake Tapper handled this whole situation because it feels so dishonest. So dishonest. And I don't believe Democrats believe he was on a decline. They just didn't have a reason to do that for the party. Unless they had the proof, and then you can talk about it when it doesn't affect the party for the next time they're going to win. But do you play defense? No, you don't even cover it. You just talk about the next thing. Or talk about Trump. Don't look at Trump.
It's so hard. It's such a difficult time, so unfathomable in terms of the pain this family must be feeling. And yet, if you act now, and you use the code / tap that book, you will
He's your ally. He's on your side. He sees that you ignore your loss and you just want to talk about your win. We lose, but we talk about the... Why do you want to... Guy!
you actually frame this difficult news as perhaps even more of a reason to buy this book.
The timing of former President Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis is certainly dramatic, coming on the eve of a blockbuster new book about his health and his time in the White House.
Go on.
I'm sure some observers will say that the reporting in the book is even more important now.
Yet nobody's saying that.
And that is only about the cancer. That is sport. You didn't talk about the decline of the head?
President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally.
Yeah.
I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right.
Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him.
Exactly.
I mean, you have questioned President Biden's age, mental fitness, ability to lead. Of those supporting Biden, you said, quote, shame on all of you pretending everything is okay. You're leading us and him into a disaster. Do you worry that you damaged him at all? I don't doubt that you got hugs and handshakes behind closed doors today, and maybe even publicly, some of them because they like you personally. But I've heard a lot of really nasty stuff about you from your Democratic colleagues. Sure. I mean, just like, what is he thinking? Exercise in narcissism. I mean, false claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity. He's 81, and his memory, you know, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage. Quote, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping, unquote. The Wall Street Journal is owned by News Corp, which is run by the Murdochs. Beyond the headline, there is some critical nuance here. The article is mostly based on observations of Republicans, with former Speaker Kevin McCarthy the only one going on the record.
Hey man, if you want to defend your party, you do. What did we ask all this time? Let's do a mental health check. No. Trump won.
But to your point, this book goes beyond Joe Biden. There is a call in this country, in the United States, there is a need for legislation to mandate that American presidents provide all of their health information under threat of perjury.
You had all this time to call it out. You played defense like there was no mistake. It was clean swipe.
We can't be lied to about this sort of thing. We can't have a group of unelected aides running the country if there's a 2 a.m. phone call. It needs to be the person that's elected. So this goes beyond Joe Biden. It should be relevant to Donald Trump and whoever comes after Donald Trump. I agree with that 100%.
Now you have a book talking about the thing about the man that you don't have to defend anymore because they lost. But now at the same time, the thing that we always request for the man that lost, so you're like, hey, you know what? It's viable to do exactly that thing because your guy won.
There needs to be transparency by leaders when it comes to their health. And I would argue that some of the skepticism we've heard from Democrats, Republicans, and doctors Beyond the headline, there is some critical nuance here. The article is mostly based on observations of Republicans with...
But now that he lost, oh, now Republicans, Democrats, doctor, my research, my book. I'm not making jokes about Biden. I'm joking about how dumb this guy thinks I am. My father just died from cancer a few years ago. And I know how horrible it is, man. My wife's father just died from cancer in December. I ate with him celebrating Christmas. And once I found I put him on morphine, I went immediately to the hospital because I just felt within 24 hours, all the people that I know that took morphine, that's it. Doesn't gonna last long. So it hits a little close.
How has writing this important book, investigating the Biden presidency, Jake, informed you about how to cover the current president?
Well, I just think in general, not Trump specific, but in general, I think that the press corps, and I'm certainly including myself, needs to worry less about politeness when it comes to these health issues and needs to be even more aggressive when it comes to demanding transparency on health issues when it comes to the president. President Trump, while he appears healthy, he has not been transparent about his health records. And I think that that's something that the American people have a right to.
Why are we talking again about Trump? Why can't you isolate the incident without talking about him? Because I'm starting to realize the more clips I get, the more angry I get. Because I'm like, this is so unfair, the way that you cover this.
But he was also our president. He could have been president right now. So it's important to ask whether we were lied to about both his mental and physical health until now. Because medical experts are suggesting that Biden's cancer was evident for years. Yale University professor Howard Foreman says it is inconceivable that this was not being followed before he left the presidency. Oncologist and former Biden advisor Dr. Zeke Emanuel asserts that Biden had cancer as early as 2021.
He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2020.
I didn't even know that. That sucks. I guess they covered it up very well.
Top it all off, in light of this news, a clip from 2022 surfaced of Biden saying that he has cancer.
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer, and why can't for the longest time Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Maybe that's a slip, and we may never know when Biden's cancer was first diagnosed. But we do know that he showed signs of cognitive decline during his presidency. We also know that prominent politicians and media didn't call it out until after the whole world saw it. And now we're getting this news 2 days before a book about a potential cover-up came out. Now look, cancer diagnoses are complicated, and maybe this just snuck up on Biden. And there's a possibility that this is a continuation of a cover-up by the Biden administration.
I'll just say this. If every time you want to talk about something, but you want to remind me about your ex, I don't trust you. Because until you can focus on your own responsibility, I don't care what you think about somebody else's responsibility. It starts with you.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Durlo que ta berdetta welcome.